Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, all of the people were whole. Everyone was free and united because everyone knew who they were and was aware of and conscious of the way that all of existence is united. So the people themselves could be united. And because people lived as one, they were all free within their world. This was hundreds of thousands of years ago. For hundreds of thousands of years, we lived free and aware, using our full consciousness to live inside our food system. And because of this, we were able to travel around the whole world and start living in all sorts of different areas using full skills of awareness to thrive everywhere we went. Some of us were amazing sea folk, could travel on small boats very far distances. Some of us lived in the desert and knew how to live within this dry land in a way that was beautiful and non-destructive to the land, live within it and actually participate in keeping it viable and alive. Some of us lived in the forests. Some of us climbed mountains. Some of us lived in the snow. But all of us used our full minds to have a broad, wide attention so that we could see things far away in the distance and know what's coming. And we could understand how the past moves into the future and how we interact with that so that we knew where to go to find the best berries in the fall and where the animals would be traveling so that we could go and get meat and how to find the best roots and how to cook them up in the best way so that all food was medicine. We used our full consciousness so we knew how to get along with each other. We knew that the elders held the wisdom of the tribe. And so through this 100,000 years of existence, we lived in this timeline of growth within each other. The elders would bring the knowledge of the people before, and then innovation would come in and maybe start a different way of doing things, and people would watch and see how did it interact together. Every once in a while, things would go bad. People would start not living fully awake within their ecosystem, and things would start breaking down. And so all of the different people had stories and ways to come back into balance whenever we started going out of balance. Because of the fact that we have this very big intelligence, this big brain, and this ability to see very far, we can thrive anywhere we go. And we can also have a propensity for things to go wrong if we stop understanding who we are and stop listening to the elders. Then things can start cascading into chaos easily for us. And of course, as we know, because of where we are right now, this did happen. People started inventing all sorts of things that made life easier. And because life was easier, people didn't have to quite pay attention as far away and as broadly as they used to. And people started relying on things rather than on wisdom and elder knowledge to stay comfortable and live. slowly over time, we started forgetting who we are. Little pockets of one pocket of people over here would forget their connection to everything, to what we today would call God. They would, over here, another little pocket of people would forget their connection to the everything of everything and start relying on things. And once you start relying on things, language starts changing, because then we start having to have words that describe these different things that we own. And so it kind of cascades into unconsciousness, because it becomes easier and easier and easier for our critical brain to think that it is the boss, rather than our inner core and our heart is what keeps us together. So over time, little pockets of people over here started living in a way that was divided and didn't come back. And over here, same thing, some people living in divided. And so people started competing with each other for things, and they started tying up land and turning it into property. And so what this did is this created kind of a confusion in people's minds, because people weren't absolutely certain who they were, because the only way you can know who you are is if you see your connection to the vast whole, because that's who you are. We are not a divided little entity. We started living as this divided little entity, and fear started rising in people, because when you live in this divided state, life doesn't quite make sense. Death takes us by surprise because we don't see the full picture. Disease takes us by surprise because we don't see the full picture. And so people started living kind of in this fear and started inventing gods to pray to, because we see the past and future very easily. And sometimes luck happens, and sometimes bad things happen. And so the tendency is to kind of want to try to force the luck to happen. And so this grew as philosophies within these groups of people that had become broken and disconnected from the whole. So the idea of God rose. And the ones who had the best gods started beating and conquering the other people, because whoever conquered somebody else and stole their land, it was easy to believe that their God had done that for them. So here's the problem. Here's the real problem with God, is that people, no matter what you believe, no matter where you have been in this continuum of civilization, people easily fall back into harmony. It happens all the time, no matter how complicated a society might be, no matter what gods they may be praying to. There will always be people in that society who accidentally fall into unity. And not only that, every single person has this idea, has this feeling inside them that unity is possible and just right there. So we all have this craving for unity. And then constantly people fall into it. Sometimes they just live their lives and silently along with everybody else. Sometimes they try to interpret their experience and teach other people how to come into this wholeness. So the real problem with God is that wherever you are, whichever kind of God we may have named, people constantly find God. And when you find God, it's an indescribable experience. The words that we've created to name things, the things that we own, do not describe the unity with God very well. So two things throughout all of civilization have been happening all at the same time. One, we've been inventing gods and trying to name the qualities of God. And these names have caused people to be divided from other people. So it's like, well, which God is it? This God over here is named this and it's defined this, and this God over here is named this and it's defined this. And people started fighting together about which God was which and which definition was which and what the truth is. So all this fighting is going on, and people clamped into their different camps around the different names of their gods. Meanwhile, everywhere around the planet, all the civilized people, they're just numerous people constantly falling into God, finding it, finding it, finding it. So these two things are happening all at the same time. There's actually a third thing happening at the same time, is the whole people, the people that had learned that for 100,000 years or more that had been living in harmony with the world, were still everywhere. And this is what we call the indigenous people of the planet today, the people who haven't been conquered yet by civilization. They're still there with their stories and their knowledge, and still listening to their elders, and still understanding how to live within their ecosystem. So these three things are all happening at the same time. The civilized people with their gods are very, they want to own everything. So they're conquering, and they're fighting with each other and conquering all the indigenous lands at the same time. So there's this confusion of civilization, encompassing the whole world, and we keep building more things and more things and more things. And then there's the indigenous people who are still living within this field of wholeness, and trying. Right now, we're in a time where the indigenous people are trying to come out and speak to us and tell us there's a different way, Look, you can come to God from the earth up. You don't have to come from your head and your definitions down to God. So right now we're in a time where these two things are meeting, and the indigenous words are starting to become more and more prevalent throughout society. So we all have the opportunity to hear these words, and we've kind of evolved to the point where we're noticing each other more, and our sense of unity is like starting to rise up in us as a societal thing. So we're not as willing to be prejudiced against other people. We're not as willing to watch wars happen without doing something about it. We're not as willing to watch ecological destruction happen without doing something about it. So all of this is happening at the same time as we are starting to settle ourselves into actually seeing God and letting the godly voices speak in new ways. That's the new story of God. What are we going to do next?